Rubber baby bubby bunkers. Rubber baby bubby bunkers. Something I learned about myself. I can't review movies with shoes on. I have to wear just socks. That's it. And I have to have socks on too. I can't go just barefooted. All right? So I'm very picky about my foot posture when it comes to reviewing movies. Let's review Wonder Woman 84. Wonder Woman 84 stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Pedro Pascal, and is directed by Patty Jenkins. What is up, guys? It is Christmas Day. Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope you guys all had a wonderful holiday. If it's not Christmas, whatever you celebrate, Hanukkah, all that good stuff. But I just got out of Wonder Woman 84. A lot of interesting things to discuss. Looking forward to getting into this review. But before we jump in, I want to talk about social distancing for a second, okay? I bought my tickets for myself and my wife a few days ago. And when I bought my tickets, I selected 2 seats and then it X'd out like, I think, a good 5 seats around us. But lo and behold, one of the viewers, very nice lady, she sits 2 seats down from me, literally 1 seat separating us. And right away, I was a little alarmed. I was like, we should at least be 6 feet apart, and not her fault. And I even asked her, I was like, ma'am, did you check your seat number? Because it's weird, when I bought my ticket, there should have been more space. And she literally stated she checked hers twice and she was also alarmed. So again, not that woman's fault at all. And we had a pretty packed theater in terms of social distancing. And so there were a lot of open seats, but we couldn't move because no matter where we moved, we were gonna be just as close as we were to that lady. So I don't know if AMC is really paying attention to this issue. This could be just our theater and maybe there was just a glitch. I don't know, but I figured it'd be something worth sharing because if other AMC theaters or just theaters in general are doing this, maybe they need to take a look at their app and make sure that it's actually doing the proper social distancing. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about Wonder Woman 84. This was a movie that was supposed to come out way back in June, and then this virus happened, and of course, here we are, and it's a kind of historical thing because this might be one of the first times where a movie of this caliber, big, major blockbuster movie is released on streaming the same exact day as in theaters. And we chose to go see it in the theater. I have HBO Max, but I wanted the theater experience. But anyway, quick plot synopsis. This is set in 1984, which is irresistible because the 80s, the 80s are really fun. We'll get into that as far as like how they explore that time frame. But, Diana, she's going on about her life. There's this coworker that she runs into, Barbara Minerva, played by Kristen Wiig. Huge fan of Kristen Wiig, by the way. And she wants to have what Diana has. She's jealous of her. This is a person that seemingly has everything. She's beautiful. She's successful. Everybody seems to like her, which is a good lesson in this movie too, because we often judge things at face value. Even like people that we see on TV, we think that their lives are one thing, but it might be something completely different. So then there's this rock that pretty much grants wishes, and it grants her the wish to be like Diana. And of course, Diana casts her own wish to bring back her once long-lost love, Steve, who passed away in the first movie. And that was one of my big complaints about this going into it. When I first saw the trailers, like, how in the hell did they bring this guy back? Nothing against Chris Pine whatsoever, but I can't stand it in franchises when they just bring back characters that had died. If a character dies, then they should stay dead unless there's a really big, substantial reason for them to come back. How this whole thing played out, I think, justified his returning, and he is one of the better parts of the movie, actually. But then there's this eccentric guy, Maxwell Lord, played by Pedro Pascal, that comes along. Man, the guy's been just working like crazy lately with Mandalorian, Game of Thrones. But this is a guy that's really troubled. His investments have gone bad. He's having trouble in the father department, just dealing with people. And he finds out about The Rock, and he wishes for him to become The Rock. And then that presents a whole world of problems, because if you have somebody that's this unstable, having that type of power, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And that's exactly what happens, and this movie gets really, really chaotic at a certain point once it kicks into high gear, once he gets the power of The Rock, the stone. Now, first thing right out the gate, the action in this, Wonder Woman is a very irresistible character. That is the one thing that I loved about the first movie. I thought the first movie was pretty overrated, actually. People were making it out to be like one of the best comic book movies to come along in a while. I thought the villains were very stock, honestly, guys. And up to this point, I don't remember who the villains were in the first movie. So that should tell you something right there. I think they get it right in the villain department this time around. But staying on the action, you know, it opens up with a couple nice, really action set pieces, especially one that's in the mall. We see that tried and true Wonder Woman, I guess I call it like the forward knee slide. She constantly does that move in like all these movies. And I know there's only 2 movies, but I'm sure we're going to see more of the forward knee slide. Did I just make up a phrase? But they're just very well shot scenes. Patty Jenkins knows how to handle an action sequence, or whoever's behind the action sequences in these movies. They do a great job. And it does get the blood pumping. When you see a character that has the powers that Diana Prince has, or really even Batman, who has no powers. Seeing a superhero fly through the air or take down baddies in such a glorious fashion, it's always exhilarating. And there's a lot of that in this movie, actually. Also, I was just talking about the villains. First off, Kristen Wiig playing Minerva. I really liked her. I think Kristen Wiig was perfectly cast for this, but I can joke a little bit because the transition from being the geeky Barbara character to this person that exudes so much confidence when she eventually becomes Cheetah, you can compare it to what they did in Not Another Teen Movie with She's All That.
That's it. I've got it.
There's like a slight outfit and hair change, and then all of a sudden she looks beautiful. It just goes to show how far self-confidence can go, and really paying attention to what you wear, I guess. Really just, you know, sticking your shoulders up. It doesn't take much, actually, and maybe that's another lesson in this movie. But my favorite action set piece is at the White House, when you have the first really big showdown between Cheetah and Wonder Woman. Because this is a point where Minerva, she basically says, I am not giving up this power whatsoever, and you are not going to stand in the way. And Diana isn't her full self, because every time you make a wish, there is a cost of it. And everybody has a different cost that they have to pay when they make these wishes. And bringing Steve back, it costs Diana's powers to be reduced substantially. But that's just a really great fight, you know, because there's a lot of emotion there. And to me, it's even better than the final fight, honestly. The final fight, we'll get into the cons, but I kind of thought it was just a CGI fest. The final fight between Cheetah and Wonder Woman. Now, the last thing that I really want to talk about in terms of the pros for this movie is they really nail it with the emotional beats. And I think this is one of the things that worked with the first movie too. Without giving anything away, there's a scene in the end. You could tell that Patty Jenkins wanted to deliver a certain type of message. And the current state that we're living in right now, honestly, is so far removed from the message that Patty Jenkins is trying to get across in this movie. And that's not a con. I like directors that insert a little bit of hope into a movie, especially into the final act. You know, I think that's what made like the original Superman work so well. You know, there was always this like symbol of hope. That's what Superman was in the original Superman. He's a symbol of hope. And that's really what Wonder Woman is in this movie. You know, she's constantly putting others before herself, trying to save people. Even when she's in the middle of a fight with somebody, she's thinking of others' safety while she's fighting that person. I like that. We need that in this day and age. And hopefully people take that message from this, you know, because we're so divided without getting, you know, political or whatever. We're just so divided as a country at this point that I think we do need movies like this with messages like this. Anyway, now that we got all the sappy stuff out of the way, let's get into the cons. Notice I haven't mentioned Maxwell Lord. I didn't really like this character that much at all. I thought he was just a little bit too chaotic. And one thing that really made me laugh out loud, my dog is howling. There was something about this character that seemed familiar to me visually. I was just thinking, who does he look like? Oh my God, that's it. Ernie McCracken from Kingpin. He literally looks like Ernie McCracken from Kingpin. But just, I think in every standpoint, even visually, and I know this is set in the 80s, but I thought they went way too far with this character, and I didn't really care. I thought it was just kind of annoying. And he is an important character. He is central to the plot, but I think they could have toned it back quite a bit, because you don't have to go crazy to make a good, chaotic character. The Joker himself is a chaotic character, but the way he is portrayed on screen works exponentially. Not in this case. I thought in the end he was pretty much a forgettable character, one that we will probably never be talking about again. Also, you know what? I was thinking back and forth, should I even mention this? But I think it needs to be said. And this was something that was evident in Captain Marvel as well, but I think there was very little likability or even character depth in terms of the male characters in this movie outside of Chris Pine. Chris Pine was great in this, actually. I liked him a lot. But every other male character in this movie either seemed dumb or made out to be a complete douchebag. And I don't think that was the intention of Patty Jenkins, but I think it just suffered a little bit in the script department in terms of fleshing out characters. And regarding those emotional moments, there is a scene in this movie that utilizes this song, A Beautiful Lie by Hans Zimmer, from the score from Batman v Superman. Right away, that's just a very recognizable musical note. And I was just thinking, wow, that's cool. Are they gonna introduce Batman into this or something like that? Because that's from the Batman v Superman soundtrack. So I didn't know where they were gonna go with that. I'm not gonna tell you if they did or not, but it's in the con section for a reason, I guess. I love the track though. That track is so great in Batman v Superman. And I do think it's placed well in this movie, but it was a little bit misleading because you're expecting something if you're very familiar with the score for Batman v Superman. And lastly, in the comics, this movie is set in 1984, and I think that lends itself to so many fun possibilities. And I don't think, for the most part, it was even necessary. There is a montage with Chris Pine that's not even really that funny, and it goes on a little bit too long. There's quite a few moments where when Chris Pine shows up, he's just in awe of, the technology. And again, that doesn't even need to be set in the 80s. But I think they just didn't take advantage of that 80s aesthetic enough. Yes, every character looks like they're 80s in this movie, but at the end of the day, was it even necessary? And I could compare this to Thor Ragnarok, which is not even set in the 80s, but that had more of an 80s flair to it than this movie did. So in the end, I'm going to give Wonder Woman 84 just a straight up humdrum. I didn't think it was amazing. I thought it was a little bit better than the first movie. And there are some nice emotional moments. You're definitely going to get your blood pumping during those action sequences. So if you love the first movie, I'd say go see this one. So anyway, let me know in the comments your thoughts on Wonder Woman 84. Looking forward to hearing them. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me, Drumdums, on all my socials. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.